This is called Lines of Resolution. We are inside of a condemned Blockbuster video store, now being used as a private practice law firm for personal injury cases. An office space flickers with bad luminescent lighting fixtures and electrical buzzing noises. The gypsy enters the reception area that used to be a movie rental checkout counter and is now a secretary cubicle. She comes in limping with metal crutches, smeared makeup, and a neck brace, as if she had survived a hit-and-run car accident and lived to tell. She approaches the secretary, an older woman who sits at her desk, sifting through mail with an artificial demeanor of order. The gypsy hands her a completed free consultation intake questionnaire. Hobbies is the only area she has completed. All she wrote in it was the word film. Interior, condemned Blockbuster video store, the Bronx. The gypsy. Billy. I'm here to speak with Billy. The secretary. Excuse me, ma'am? The gypsy. You heard me right. Get me the owner. Get me the person who is responsible for the changes being made here. Get me the disruptor. At first glance, all the secretary chose to observe was a cheap and insignificant-looking thing. The secretary is now baffled by the gypsy's heavy British accent. The secretary had initially judged things based on how things looked, without giving anything a chance. The secretary. Oh, you must mean Bill Grundy, Esquire. The gypsy. Esquire? I did not come here for a magazine subscription. Do they still print those things called magazines? What a radical idea that is these days. I thought everything is read over the internet now. I really must be as crazy as I look. And by the way, in Britain, we call esquires solicitors. Want to know why? Because that word makes far more sense. Everything looked and felt distorted to the secretary, as if in need of some serious VHS tracking knob twists. The secretary knew that this gypsy was batshit crazy, based on her proclaimed hobby interest of film. Also, is that a wig she has on? The secretary refused to accept what was in front of her, this moving image. The secretary. You know, it's very late and Mr. Grundy is about to close shop. The gypsy. Billy was the name of my dog. The secretary. Did you hear what I just said? You look like you're not from around here, so this is probably some sort of cultural barrier thing we're experiencing right now. Where are you from, Syria? The secretary, trying to break the uncomfortable silence. Oh, I'm sorry for my messy desk. As you see, I don't have a lot of space to work with here. The gypsy shakes her head, mumbling like a ventriloquist. The gypsy. You do understand that you're working on holy grounds right now? You're literally sitting on top of a cemetery. A Be Kind, Please Rewind cemetery. You make me sick. No respect for the dead. The secretary. Are you some kind of performance artist? The gypsy fastens a safety pin to the back of her scalp to keep her bad wig from keeling over. She pulls out a headscarf and wraps it around her head. The secretary. Listen, I studied the arts, but now I can't get anything I've ever made shown. I've been phased out by technology. Whatever I've done or do is immediately acknowledged as being old news. Ageism. I just couldn't keep up. The gypsy burst into laughter. You killed me first, said the gypsy. The secretary, excuse me? Gypsy. It's a line from an old film. A film that's aged gracefully. The secretary desperately looks through her desk for a cell phone charger. Why do they call these phones smart if they never tell you in advance when they're gonna die on you, said the secretary. I left my damn charger at home. Oh well, I'll go fetch up Bill for you. A middle-aged man, Bill Grundy, enters the reception area wearing a tacky, mismatched jacket suit that looks like something from the Salvation Army. Something used. He shamefully avoids eye contact and stares at a flickering light fixture hanging from the ceiling during conversation. Bill Grundy. Welcome to the United States of America, the Bronx. Some people call this rather integrated and overpopulated area the Boogie Down. Now what brings you here at this such a late hour of the night? And how can I help you zealously? My name is Bill Grundy. He extends a handshake that's refused by the gypsy. My expertise is personal injury law, but I'll take any argument if there is just a cause worth fighting for at its core. And I must admit that I love your British accent. It reminds me of home. South London accent? I lost my accent years ago. Such a shame what the hustle and bustle of a city can do to a person's moral ethical code. The gypsy. Actually, yes. I'm from South London. Bromley. Have you heard of it? It's a wealthy suburb, predominantly white, but with a fringe group of segregated people called traveling gypsies. In fact, Bromley has the highest population of gypsies in Greater London. Outsiders, but by choice. Bill Grundy. Oh, of course I know Bromley. Leafy Bromley. Bowie. Billy Idol. Peter Frampton. Susie Sue and her Banshees. They all came from there. The buzzing pests that they were. You know, the DIY punk movement started in that borough. Fascinating when you think about it all. Such a dichotomy in which the rich class gave birth to the poor class. Poor in taste, that is. It's bizarre. Self-proclaimed artists who came from good stock but ultimately opted to follow something called the Sex Pistols around Britain and then around the world, despite the fact that everyone knew they didn't know or have an iota of respect for the creative instruments they were using. It's a horrible event. Some things never change. Binge drinking remains a massive problem over there. I can still smell the vomit. You're right, outsiders were never welcome. But one does have to take into account presentation. How a thing presents itself does make a difference. It matters. The Gypsy. Thing? Is that why you film fanatics still hate us? The digital gypsies? Is that why people like you continue to perpetuate the prejudice that still exists in this never-ending Cold War of film versus video? Your hatred for us never really went away since we entered territory that you had notarized as being exclusively all yours. Experimental film enthusiasts like yourself have kept our credibility status below sea level with your whimpering, whispering campaigns. You still adamantly refuse to admit that digital filmmaking can be as good as celluloid filmmaking, no matter how far we have pushed the craft forward. The craft of the experimental moving picture experience is not yours, it's everyone's. Why would you continue to disparage the many tools that now exist? I've read about you over the internet. I Googled you. You intentionally opened up this law firm to raise enough money to open up a film lab one day. You're a dreamer and a fool. You won't let go, ambulance chaser. Bill Grundy. Funny you should say something like that. I feel exactly the same way that you do. We gave you people little room to breathe. We allowed you into our film festivals and micro theaters, and now you're trying to go in for full dominion. No good deed goes unpunished. I'm an educated person, and video was designed for television purposes, not art. The Gypsy. Says who? Bill Grundy. Says me. The Gypsy flips her middle finger to Bill Grundy with a devilish smile. The Gypsy. You've always belonged on episodic TV, swine. Bill Grundy. You know, I'm only meeting you right now because of what you wrote in the hobby section. I'm starting to get a vibe that you lied on your application. The Gypsy. Exactly. I did. Bill Grundy. Get out. The Gypsy. I want to know why you truly purchased this land plot. Bill Grundy. I purchased this real estate to ensure its demise. It all started here with consumers' access. And I want to kill it off. Eliminate history. The Gypsy. I know that. But why? You know that VHS has become the new Super 8? We've come full circle. Why are you hell-bent? Bill Grundy. Because you represent pollution. Video imagery has no soul. The most one can hope for is a glitch. The Gypsy. Do I have no soul? Do you see no value in me whatsoever? Bill Grundy. You're real. You're an individual. You're different. The Gypsy. No, I am not. I was ejected too. Bill Grundy. You must mean rejected. The gypsy. No, ejected. Like what's done to a VHS tape, bloke. Bill Grundy. What's your grievance? I'm a personal injury lawyer. Do you have papers? Are you here legally? If you're an alien, I really can't help you. Plus, my retainer alone is going to run you anywhere between $720 to $1080. That's just how I see things from where I'm sitting. The gypsy pulls off her neck brace and throws her crutches to the ground. She pulls out small camera recorders from her bra and pockets, throwing them to the floor. She proves to be an imposter with no physical injuries. Gypsy. This is what I have for you. Bill Grundy. Oh my God. You really are a crazy person. The gypsy. I'm here to protest you by traumatizing your conscience. I carry all of my portable video equipment. The gypsy. I'm here to protest you by traumatizing your conscience. I carry all of my portable video camera and editing equipment on my person and in a backpack. I travel, I edit, I shoot. I don't stay working on a film in more than one place. Like a poet. I can roam around, experience and interpret ideas with an immediacy thanks to this new light technology that exists today. I and other gypsies can travel the world with only a concern for battery juice, backup drives, and creating personal works of passion. No more booking editing rooms, no more film coming back from the lab fucked, no more test prints, no more color labs. I can create now from any place that I lie my head at night and call home. Video should not face discrimination. It's punk. Bill Grundy. Punk is dead. The gypsy. No, it isn't. Film is dead. Or at least your definition of it is. Grundy turns his eyes to the gypsy and makes eye contact. Bill Grundy. Do you understand that now it's almost impossible for people who work on 16mm film to get anything shown these days? Most festivals won't even watch native film without it being transferred first to digital and with passwords. It's ridiculous how much you've taken from us, and it's still not enough. You're bloodsuckers. The gypsy. I'm an experimental filmmaker, and I will call myself that because that is what I am. You don't own that term. And fuck you for trying to shut us down. Bill Grundy. This war we have been quietly experiencing with one another has been a painful one. It may very well lead to the absolute annihilation of experimental cinema if it's not stopped. I agree. Why are you calling what you do film? You really shouldn't. It's insulting to the history behind it all. Your appearance has now opened up the door to reverse discrimination. The gypsy. The arts, no matter what discipline, is a world language. Experimental film derives from traditions. The arts, no matter what discipline, is a world language. Experimental film derives from traditions that have no walls or colors to discriminate against. Adaptation is the problem. Bill Grundy. Did you always feel this way? The gypsy. No, like you initially, I refused to adapt. But my desire to create took precedence over my arrogance. Unfortunately, it still hurts to use the word video because it remains a dirty word. Video was never a refugee seeking asylum. It was an awakened generation born with a birthright. Bill Grundy chuckles. So you've come to me tonight with a personal injury claim. This is your injury. The gypsy. No, I'm just angry. The only injury I can complain about were those inflicted on cattle whose bones have been crushed and used for so many years to make film stock. I'm a gypsy. Cattle is family. That's right, Mr. Grundy. Swine, too. You see, that's what's most frustrating about all of this. We are family. We are just a family at war with one another. An experimental Cold War with borders. Bill Grundy. I'm sorry. The flickering light bursts from the ceiling, and the law office goes pitch black. There is no sound. Mr. Grundy illuminates the room with his smartphone. The secretary is gone. The gypsy is nowhere to be found. All that is left is an envelope on the floor where the gypsy last stood. The envelope is addressed to Bill Grundy and has a gypsy grave photograph with a stapled poem attached to it. The poem is an epitaph to 16mm and 8mm film. Bill Grundy. This poem looks stained, as if it were pissed on by a dog. Those damn gypsies. The end.